Wagwan, everybody. I am your Jamaican Queen, Miss Y. You are tuned into How I See It TV, and this is Accurate Context Live. Please remember to like this video, share the link to my channel if you feel like my content needs some more crowd, subscribe if you have not done so as yet, and thanks to everybody who got me to 2,000 plus subscribers. I truly appreciate y'all for sticking it out with me, enjoying my dryness and all. I appreciate the support, but if you're here and you have not subscribed yet, please do so. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter now called X, and on TikTok at How I See It. All right. Hello to everybody who is here right now, and to everyone that will be joining me in the replay again. Remember that you all can chat in the yard. The yard is what I call the comment section or the chat if you're in the live. Talk amongst yourselves in the yard. Usually when I do an accurate context episode, I am reading the information. Okay? So that means that I might not check the comments until all the way at the end. So please don't think that I'm ignoring you or anything like that. It's just that I'm reading and I'm not looking at the chat. I only see Miss Yvette in the yard and Alf MC in the yard. So thank y'all. All right, y'all. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to try to make this really quick. I tend to ramble, as y'all just witnessed, but I'm going to try not to do so in this. I'm trying to get better at going live and not rambling on and on and on. So let's jump into this. Y'all saw the thumbnail. Y'all saw the title. If you guys watched Queen Shiba's interview last night, then you would have heard Queen Shiba ask Sunni Minx, why is Martell still on the show? And to that question, Sunni Minx answered that Martell is some sort of an executive producer on the show, something that a lot of us, if you've been on YouTube long enough and have listened to a plethora of content creators who talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville, then you'd have heard them say the same thing, that Martell is a executive producer on the show. We don't know if that's true or not, but if we're going by what Sunni Minx said during her Queen Shiba interview, Martell seemingly is an executive producer on the show. Now, this information that I'm going to read for y'all is a research that I have been working on, and I don't know why. I have so many like Google Docs filled with thoughts and research and questions that I asked one of my lawyer friends. And I guess I'm just always just waiting for the right time to do an accurate context episode. So I was like, oh wow, with this Queen Sheba interview dropping and what Sunni Minx said, let me finish up this research and present it to y'all. So normally what I do is I have friends who are in law. They don't practice entertainment law. They don't practice criminal law. However, you go to law school, you have, the knowledge, the theory, or whatever it may be, where you can answer certain questions based on whatever legal standards, right? You might not practice in that area, but you have the knowledge of certain things. Also, with my friend who works in mental health, they know certain things and they can answer certain questions for me. So I had, during the time when Martell was arrested, and I just threw some questions out there. And with the skeleton that my friend gave me, I was able to do deeper research to provide you all with the information that I'm going to present. All right. So I'm going to start now. Drop a one in the chat. Let me know that you're hearing me coming through loud and clear. And if you're hearing me, I'm going to start reading. And once again, I might not be looking at the chat. Okay. All right. I don't see no ones yet, so I don't know. Are y'all hearing me? Is this thing on? All right, since y'all are not dropping ones. Okay, thank you, Glam Rocks. Hey, Glam Rocks, welcome to the Glam Squad. And if y'all are over there watching AM chats, or if you're watching AM chats, then you definitely know what that bit was about a while ago. But thank you, Glam Rocks, and thank you, Alpha MC. All right, so I'm gonna start now. So the question I asked was, if I brought a reality TV show idea to a production company and the show's original idea is used but is somewhat turned into another type of show and a new name is given, if, and I put ... or whatever, if I have an executive producer credit or I am being acknowledged as an executive producer, but it seems it doesn't give me any hiring or firing power or control over editing, what kind of contract would that be? And could I be fired from being a cast member on this show? So that's the question I asked, all right? And so the answer that was given, well, part of the answer that was given, you mentioned that your original idea was repurposed into a different type of show. It's possible that you would have a created by, and this was in quotes, a created by or based on a concept by credit, which would acknowledge your contribution to the original idea. And then I asked some more questions, and then this was the answer that was provided. In the scenario you sent me, you would likely have a development deal or a creative consultant agreement with the production company. This type of contract typically outlines your role as the creator developer of the show idea, your executive producer credit, which, as you mentioned, doesn't grant you hiring or firing power. Your compensation, example, royalties, fees, or a percentage of profits. The terms of your involvement, including any creative input or approval rights. All right. Now they kind of break down my question about firing. Regarding your question about being fired as a cast member, it depends on your specific contract and the terms of your casting agreement. If you have a separate casting contract, that agreement would outline the terms of your participation as a cast member, including your role and responsibilities, compensation, termination clauses, example, the reasons for termination, notice periods, etc. So these answers weren't really giving me the tea, the tea that I wanted. So another day, because I felt like I was like inundating them with questions at the end of the day, they're probably tired. Another day, I reached out again and I asked some more questions. All right. So now they answer my question. About my if I was a member of the cast and an executive producer, how my contract deal would look, right? So this is the answer to that question. And basically, I just wanted to get like a basic idea of how Melody's contract might look I'm not saying that this is how her contract looks, but I just wanted to get like a general idea of what could perhaps be in her contract and Martel's contract for him to not have been fired yet, right? So, they say if your casting contract is tied to your development deal, the production company might have the right to terminate your casting agreement if they decide to remove you as an executive producer or if the show is cancelled. So I asked, why would an executive producer who is also a cast member of a reality TV show not have hiring or firing powers or input with editing or filming of the other castmates' scenes? Now, I've heard Melody say she doesn't really know what other people are are filming. She just does her scenes and she goes about her business, right? So they gave me several reasons and then I had to do more research. So this is some of the reasons they gave me and then my additional research. So there are several reasons why an executive producer who is also a cast member of a reality TV show might not have hiring or firing powers or input with editing or filming of other castmates' scene. One, conflict of interest. To avoid conflict of interest, the production company may want to separate the executive producer's creative decisions from their role as a cast member. Two, objectivity. By not giving the executive producer or cast member hiring or firing power or editing input, the production company can maintain objectivity and ensure decisions are made in the best interest of the show, not just the individual's own interests. Checks and balances. This separation of powers can prevent any one person from having too much control over the show's direction. Focus on their own storyline. By not involving the executive producer slash cast member in editing and filming decisions for the castmates, they can focus on their own storyline and performance. Five, network or production company policies. The network or production company may have specific policies or guidelines that prohibit cast members from having creative control or hiring or firing powers to maintain the integrity of the show. Again, my disclaimer is I'm not saying that this is what's included in Melody's deal or Martel's deal or this is what Kingdom Reign Entertainment is doing. This is all speculation based on research, okay? I had to say that for people coming in late. Now, we have to remember reality TV shows, they often involve complex dynamics, and an arrangement like this might be intended to maintain a level of objectivity and professionalism. Now, if we recall, Shawnee O'Neal, for years, she was called out for certain things on Basketball Wives. People felt like it was unfair for her to have so much power, where it seemed like the other cast members, they couldn't call Shawnee out for anything. They couldn't get into arguments with Shawnee. We remember the thank you for your services moment between her and I think it was Brandy. And people felt like if Shawnee wasn't like pushing her power as an executive producer, then she wouldn't have been able to do that. And then when Brandy came back, like the next season, they kind of like shunned her in a way, right? And last season, I think Shawnee only appeared in like 2 episodes, and this season, I'm not really watching Basketball Wives, so I don't know how many episodes she's gonna be in. But she's kind of removed herself now as part of the cast. So, in my opinion, if this is what is in Melody's contract, then it would kind of make sense, you know? All right, so I asked about the types of contracts that Melody and Martell could have, right? Because remember, they pitched the show together as husband and wife, right? They pitched the show together as husband and wife. If y'all recall, Carlos King, if you go to his page on Twitter, he has a post from November 19, 2018, where Melody and Martel at the time, as the Holts, they were talking about how they pitched the show to Carlos like 4 years prior. So that would be what? 2013, thereabout. I don't know. So they pitched the show as a couple. So maybe when they signed the contract, I don't know, they signed it also as a couple, right? So the types of contracts that they could probably have signed. Um, One, an executive producer agreement. This contract specifies the executive producer's responsibilities, compensation, and credits, as well as any limitations on their authority. Two, production agreement. This contract outlines the terms of the production company's relationship with the executive producer, including their role, obligations, and rights. Three, cast member agreement. This contract covers the terms of the executive producer's participation as a cast member, including their compensation, release forms, and any other rights or obligations related to their appearance on the show. Four, a hybrid contract. In some cases, a single contract might combine elements of the above agreements, outlining the executive producer's dual role as both a cast member and an executive producer, with clear definitions of their responsibilities and limitations in each capacity. These hybrid contracts typically include clauses related to job responsibilities and scope of work, compensation and credits, creative control and decision making processes, hiring and firing procedures, confidentiality and non disclosure agreements, release forms and liability waivers, termination clauses, and dispute resolution processes. Keep in mind, though, that contracts may vary depending on the production company, the network, etc. Now, I asked, would it be possible that a contract could have a clause preventing the firing of an executive producer slash cast member? So keep in mind the question I asked. Would it be possible that a contract could have a clause preventing the firing of an executive producer who is also a cast member? The answer I received, yes. It is possible for a contract to include a clause that prevents the firing of an individual, or at least would make it more difficult to fire this individual. And then they gave me like a few things that I could go and research. The clauses could be a job security clause, a no termination clause, a guaranteed employment clause, and a fixed term contract, which ensures employment for a specified period. So, as we know, Love and Marriage Huntsville, we don't even know what season we're in. Melody did an interview the other day with Big Radio or something like that. I don't remember the name of the platform that she did the interview with. However, during the interview, she said technically they are on season 5, while Carlos is saying we're on 8, and in some places it's saying 9. So it's like, okay, maybe, again, this is all speculation, maybe there is like a fixed term clause in Melody's contract or Martel's contract, which says, as an executive producer, as the person who essentially came up with the concept for this show, y'all will have a contract for 20 seasons, I don't know, or 10 seasons, right? I'm just saying. But as my friend stated, that's also a possibility. All right. These clauses might be included in the contract to protect the individual's job security, as in Martel Holt, allegedly, ensure their continued involvement in the project, and prevent arbitrary or unfair termination. All right. Now, here are some examples of what the clause might sound like. And this is just me doing further research. All right. So the clause might sound like this in their contract. The producer agrees not to terminate the executive producer's services without just cause and prior written notice. The executive producer's employment is guaranteed for the duration of the production unless they breach the terms of this agreement. The producer shall not terminate the executive producer's contract without the prior approval of the network. All right. Keep in mind that these clauses can be negotiated and may vary in their specific. I'm sorry. Keep in mind that these clauses may be negotiated. It's essential to carefully review and understand terms of any contract that we are signing. Okay. That's my disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer, y'all. Okay. I just do research. All right, so here's an example of a clause that could be used in a TV show contract to prevent the firing of an executive producer who is also a cast member. All right, so the producer hereby agrees, the things that you can find on Google, child. The producer hereby agrees that the executive producer / cast member shall not be terminated or removed from the show except for material breach of this agreement, B, gross misconduct, C, commission of a felony or crime involving moral turpitude. Hint, hint, Martel Holt, is that not in his contract? And if it's not in his contract, why was it not in his contract? But anyways, let's continue. D, failure to perform their duties as an executive producer and or cast member as reasonably determined by the producers or the production company. In the event of termination, the producer shall provide written notice to the executive producer or cast member specifying the grounds for termination. The executive producer or cast member shall have the right to cure any breach or deficiency within a certain time frame. Example, 14 days, 10 days, whatever the case may be. The parties agree that this clause is a material term of this agreement and that the executive producer or cast member services are essential to the production and success of the show. And these are just examples of what could possibly be in these contracts. I'm not saying that this is what's in the contract, okay? It's just a sample. So I asked another question. So if one cast member who is said to be an executive producer has been accused of threatening to release revenge P of his ex-wife and has now been found guilty of DV in the third, why would his contract as a cast member not be terminated? All right, so my friend was like, man, that's a serious situation. I was like, it is. Anyways, so this was the response. Even with a job security clause, the contract might include provisions that allow for termination in cases like this, right? So my friend is saying that there could be wordings in the contract that could lead to Martell's firing. We just, at this point, we don't know. And some of the examples are moral turpitude. And this is a clause which permits termination if the cast member's actions brings disgrace or disrepute to the show or the production company. So y'all tell me if Martel's situation, if this doesn't count as moral turpitude. And if it's not in his contract, why was it not in there? Because I'm sure they have to like maybe sign. I should have asked this, like, and I'm gonna ask, even though it's too late now, but I'm gonna ask, like, how often would they have to like renegotiate the executive producer or cast member contract? Like, I'm sure they get a new contract every season as a cast member, but in the capacity as the executive producer, I'm wondering if they would also sign a new contract every year. I need to ask that question and see what the answer is. All right, a conviction clause would also allow for termination if the cast member is found guilty of a crime, especially one involving violence or abuse. Again, we don't know if this clause is in Martel's contract. All right. And so if it's not in his contract, maybe that's why he's not being fired. Right. A behavioral clause, sorry. This clause, it would require a cast member to adhere to certain standards of conduct. Again, we don't know if any of this is in Martel's contract, because one would have to assume that if moral turpitude, a conviction clause, a behavioral clause, if any of that was in his contract, then at this point in time, he should be off the show, right? Um, Now I asked another question. All right. I said, so even with a producer credit that really gives no creative control or hiring or firing of anyone, just not to say you are part of the show's conception, can this person still be fired? And the answer was yes, correct. Even with a producer credit that doesn't grant creative control or hiring or firing authority, the cast member can still be terminated from their role on the show. The producer credit might be, again, the producer credit might be an honorary or courtesy title acknowledging their contribution to the show's conception, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee job security. So for a lot of us who are like, they're trying to push Melody out of the show, this could probably be why it's looking that way, right? Because maybe her contract, it doesn't guarantee her job security on the show. But it looks like it granted Martell some job security because, again, why is he not gone? Now, if the cast members' actions are deemed detrimental to the show or violates the terms of their contract, the production company can still choose to terminate their contract, regardless of their producer credit. My friend also said that even without any of those clauses being in the contract, the seriousness of the allegations as I presented it to them and the guilty verdict, it could outweigh any contractual obligations that Kingdom Reign Entertainment may have with Martell. So essentially, what my friend is saying is that Kingdom Reign Entertainment, they have an out if they want to fire Martell. But again, from where we're sitting, it's like, okay, he's not gone, so why are they still holding on to him? The production company can decide to distance themselves from the cast member to protect the show's reputation. They're not doing that. They have a bunch of people on the show that's been arrested how many times now? It's crazy. All right, so I asked about the courtesy title. I said, what would this courtesy title or contract include? right? And they gave me skeletons and told me to go do further research, and I did that, right? So, a courtesy title or contract for a producer credit with no creative control or hiring or firing authority might include: you get a title, executive producer or producer, but it would state without specific responsibilities. Two, a credit. Guarantee of a producer credit on the show, possibly with a specific wording or placement. Now, I've never really looked at the credits for Love and Marriage Huntsville, but maybe y'all can tell me in the chat if you have ever seen Martel Holt's name in the credits, or if you've ever seen Melody Shari's name in the credits. But from what my friend said, that based on a producer contract, they could have a guaranteed producer credit on the show with specific wordings or placement, right? We know Mariah Huck said that in her first season of Married to Medicine, she didn't care to have that executive producer and creator credit, at the beginning or end of the show. But by the time she got into season 2, and she was kind of like fighting with the production company and fighting to maintain control of her show, she wanted them to put that in there, and it's still in there, as we speak. Compensation: a fee or salary for their role as a cast member, however, with possible bonuses or profit participation. Consultation: there could be a clause requiring the production company to consult with either Melody or Martell or both on certain aspects of the show. But in brackets, it says without a binding decision making power. So I guess that means that they'll ask them their opinions on certain things, and they'll just take it into consideration, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if they say no, then it won't happen, right? That's what that sounds like to me. Probably should have researched that further. All right, approval. Limited approval rights over their own storylines or scenes. Melody said she showed up to Houston after finding out about this Revenge P plot to see Martell there. No one told her that he was going to be there. Carlos King claims that ain't nobody show up to a scene and not know who are going to be there. That's what Carlos said. But Melody, and I believe her, said when it came to the Houston trip, she wanted to leave because when she showed up, there was somebody there that she didn't expect to be there. And also remember how he popped up to the kid's birthday party at that skating rink. So it's saying that limited approval rights over their own storylines or scenes, not extending to other cast members or the overall show direction, which makes sense, right? Publicity: inclusion in promotional materials, press releases, and publicity events as a cast member and producer. All right, term: a specific duration or number of episodes for their contract with options for renewal or termination. 8. Termination: conditions for termination such as breach of contract, moral turpitude, or conviction of a crime. Like, these are the things that could possibly be in Martell's contract and also Melody's contract as well. The contract would likely exclude creative control over the show's direction, writing, or editing. Melody has told us she has no control over editing. And obviously, it doesn't seem like she has control over the direction of the show because we see where the show has gone to, veered off from her original concept. hiring or firing or authority over cast or crew members. I don't think Melody, if she had control, would have hired Trisha, in my opinion. Maybe Martell would, but I don't see Melody hiring Trisha, right? And that's just my opinion. So that just proves that she has no control over the hiring or firing. I also don't think that if Melody had control over the hiring and firing of people on the cast, that Destiny would be back. I really don't think so. All right, final decision making power over production matters. Obviously, that would be Carlos King through Kingdom Reign Entertainment. Um, the contracts might exclude ownership or profit participation in the show beyond their cast member compensation. Now, I think Melody is a very smart woman, and I think when she negotiated her contract, she probably put in there or had her lawyers put in there that she wants to maintain some level of ownership or profit participation in the show, which would mean that if this show goes off air next season or whenever, while the other cast members would not benefit from any royalties because the show is now syndicated, two of the only people on that cast who would benefit from any profits that the show would receive after the show is canceled would be Melody and Martell if their contract is set up where they get to participate in the profits from the show. So that's my research, y'all. That is my research. Um, if Martell is indeed an executive producer on the show, there may be limitations on how Kingdom Reign Entertainment can go about firing him. However, when we think about his recent conviction, one would think that Carlos would be looking at how the show's viewership, the numbers are decreasing, and he would say it seems that Martel's presence is what's causing people to not watch the show, which means that the reputation of the show is being tanked. Let me get him up off my show. Melody even asked them, how long are y'all gonna fund the madness? Well, obviously that wasn't featured in, the first two episodes from the podcast event, but she did ask that question. And clearly, for a whole other season, part B of season 7, 8, 9, whichever season we're in, they're going to continue to fund Martel's presence on the show, even though even though I think a lot of company contracts would include some behavior clause, which would say that if you've been convicted of any crimes or if your behavior is affecting the reputation of the show, then we gotta let you go. Being a producer in and of itself doesn't mean that Martell should remain on the show. All right. I'm going to drop the link for a quick second. And if y'all want to come up and talk and add your 2 cents regarding what Sunni said about Martell, being a possible producer on the show, and that's probably perhaps why he has not been let go. Do you agree that that's why he hasn't been let go? Or do you feel like it's something else? That's the question you're answering if you decide to come up. Do you agree with Sunni that the reason Martell has not been fired from Love and Marriage Huntsville is because he is somewhat of an executive producer on the show? Do you agree? Or do you believe that there's a whole other reason? For me, I think that not Cartel, that Carlos honestly believes that we want to follow this particular reality. He thinks that this mess is going to sell. He thinks that we want to continue to follow the Martell and Melody storyline in this particular way. And I think they've ran the Martell and Melody drama into the ground, and it's no longer entertaining. DV in the third degree is not entertainment. It's somebody's real life, and it's the real life of plenty of women out there. And the fact that they're not discussing this topic in any educational way or healthy way is sickening, in my opinion. They're not taking great care in discussing the matter. So for me, it's all about entertainment and shock value, and not necessarily because Martell is a quote unquote executive producer, allegedly, according to Sunni Minx. I'll say that again. Martell is still on the show because Carlos King feels like this is the kind of entertainment that we want. It's not because he is a quote unquote executive producer that can't be fired. Bigger people in the entertainment industry have been fired. I mean, let's look at Weinstein. Let's look at CBS CEO. Men who were in higher positions than Martel Holt will ever hold. And they were let go from their positions. Mariah Huck, who did more for Married to Medicine than Martell has done for Love and Marriage Huntsville, was let go as a cast member. And she didn't do any of the things that Martell is being accused of and has been convicted of. They just didn't care to renew her contract as a cast member, but she still holds her executive producer and creator title in the credits. But her cast member contract was terminated. So it's not about thinking that people are going to be entertained by this storyline. Then what would be the other reason for Kingdom Reign Entertainment to still have Martel Holt as a cast member? As Sunny said, we are looking at this from the space of we're taking it all personally. We are invested in this storyline from a personal standpoint. But the production company, they're all about the business. They're all about making the money. So it goes to what I said. It's not about anything that's in his contract or not in his contract. It's all about them feeling like people wanted to be entertained by this storyline. And mark you, some people probably do, but I'm not one of them. So I would be very interested to see what's actually in Martel's contract and also Melody's contract too, if I'm being honest. I would be um interested to see what's in their contract. Does Melody have a level of creative control but just decides that she's not going to use it? I remember her saying that when Tisha was having the Brown Girl event, right? I don't know how many of you remember this. But Melody said when Tisha was having the Brown Girl event, the production company, they were going to axe it because Tisha refused to invite Melody to the event. And Melody said that she had to call Tisha up and say, girl, this event is bigger than what petty issues you have with me. And they are going to throw this event in the garbage if you don't invite me. So you need to get on the phone and call me back. They're going to come with cameras. I'm adding all of this. They're going to come with cameras. They're going to film a scene of you calling me to invite me to this event. Because if you don't, they're not going to film it. So that leads me to believe, right? And if we also recall when Destiny and Stormy, they were about to get into it at the Galentine, Melody pulled Destiny all the way to the side and she said, listen, y'all don't have no reason to be beefing for real. Like, come on. We're here to film a TV show, give a good scene, and go home. Not to be fighting over what? An issue that y'all don't really have with each other. So that leads me to believe that Melody does have a level of creative control on the show, especially in scenes, but she chooses not to utilize that authority because, as I said earlier on in reading, it can create a conflict of interest when you have to go in and out of producer mode and cast member mode. I think when Melody said, you know what, I'm going to bring a test for Kiki to take, that was Melody exercising her creative control, maybe as per her contract. Because she saw what the narrative was, the narrative that was being pushed, that Kiki was still on stuff, blah, blah, blah. And Mel said, okay, you're my friend. In her mind, she's like, I'm going to let you do this on camera so the people can see, and we're going to debunk this narrative that your cousin-in-law and your cousin is putting out there that you're perhaps still on pills. I think that was Melody utilizing her authority to have a level of creative control. She doesn't always have to use it. She doesn't need to use it, especially when it's not necessary. But I feel like those instances that I just gave, that was kind of like, Melody exercising her creative control rights as per her contract. Again, I don't know what's in her contract. I'm just speculating. Okay. So that's it, y'all. Nobody wants to come up. So I'm about to end this live. Please remember to, where is my stuff? Like this video, share the link to my channel, subscribe if you have not done so yet. Follow me at How I See It on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok. And stay tuned to my TikTok, y'all. I'm about to drop a video of this gorgeous ruched little black dress that I bought from one of those TikTok shops. I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this live, and the girl, she was wearing this dress, okay? She was wearing this dress. And I love a good ruched dress. And they had it in black. The dress was like 40 something dollars, but they had a TikTok sale, obviously. And so I got it for like 20 something bucks. And the dress came today. I already did the video of me opening it. And maybe when I put it on, I'll do a quick shot of that so y'all can see it. But I normally wear an X large, y'all. The girl in the TikTok shop, I was talking to them during the live in the chat. They were like, it's like tummy control, this, that, and the third. So, and it stretches, so you can buy a large. And I was like very skeptical. Okay. But I opened the dress, I put it on, and the large, it definitely has stress and stretch, and the ruching. Oh my god, I felt so snatched and gorgeous in the dress. So I can't wait to show y'all. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Anyways, thank y'all for listening. As I always say, walk good. Bye. Oh, one more thing. Glamrox goes live tomorrow morning for her AM talks. I think it's at like 7:30. It's one of my favorite content creators. You know, on your way to work, tune into Glamrox because her lives are funny and amazing. Between Venus, Braylon, and Toot, you are and Glamrox together on that panel. Child, y'all are going to be laughing your hearts out on Friday mornings. Okay. So if you aren't following Glamrox yet, please, please, please go over there to Glamrox. So she's in the chat. So y'all go over there tomorrow. Well, now go over there now and subscribe to Glamrox and tune into her. Wait, it's not AM live. It's not AM chats tomorrow. Glamrox. Oh, it's our family feud. Okay, the what do you call it? Hood feud, or do you call it subscriber feud? I'm waiting for you to respond, Glamrox. All right, I'm gonna call it subscriber feud for right now. But the subscriber feud, y'all, is so much fun. So please go subscribe to Glamrox and make sure that I see y'all over there tomorrow morning. Okay, for subscriber feud. The questions are funny, the panel is funny, the chat while we're down there in the chat trying to answer the questions for our teams, we're funny. I promise you, you're gonna have lots and lots of fun. Okay. All right. So see y'all over there on Glamrock's channel tomorrow morning at 7:30. Right, Glamrocks? 7:30 a.m. sharp. So we can have some fun with our version of Family Feud, but it's subscriber feud. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Walk good. Bye.